Hi, yes, I'm Sophia from GUTXY, and we let your gut guide you to better digestive health. During my teens, I had my own personal experience with antibiotics, and what I found was actually when I'd go off them, the symptoms in my skin would come back. And this actually inspired me to do my own research in microbiome science. So when I was studying my master's in bioinformatics, I delved further, and it turned out our gut health was very much key. Specifically, also, our diet and lifestyle was crucial for improving our gut health. If we consider digestive issues, they significantly lower our quality of lives. Constipation, diarrhea, depression, and anxiety. These are all symptoms of something known as irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, and affects nearly 1 billion people worldwide. And what happens is they're searching every day for solutions because when they go to their doctors, there's no cause and no cure at the moment. And what they're met with is confusion over the conflicting information available today. And so what we want to do is help them. And so this is our process. As a user, you would go onto our website, give some lifestyle information once you've ordered your kit, and then collect your sample. We then analyze this using next-generation sequencing and bioinformatics to give you a custom wellness report. In the report, we cover the microbiome diversity and richness, as well as your status for certain symptoms, such as bloating. So this will give you your percentage levels and then the final score, as well as recommendations on foods to focus on and avoid. And right now we have 2 products. So it's Snapshot, this is our one-time test, and then we have Reset. This is different to other services around in that it's a program. So we test your microbiome before and after a dietary intervention. And now we're actually developing a new product, which is an iteration of this called Reset Plus. And this uses technology that hasn't been seen before on the market. So I'll delve further into this. If we consider the bacterial taxonomy, 16S is what's usually used. And this generally goes down to genus level, but some say they can get also species level. Meanwhile, one of the key players is shotgun sequencing, which takes the whole genome. However, with this, you actually get 1,000 times more data than you need, and it takes a lot of time to go through this. It's also very expensive, around €7 per sample, so it's not really consumer-friendly right now. That's why we're introducing precision microbiome profiling. And this will get the same level of detail as shotgun, but instead of taking 4 to 6 weeks to get the results, you can get it in a day. Now, why do we really care about getting this data so quickly? Well, if we're thinking about the people I mentioned, there's 1 billion people in the world. They're actually missing work in school due to their symptoms. They're suffering a reduction in productivity, and they're also unable to predict their symptoms. So that means everything's up in the air and dependent on how they feel that day. And that's why we see microbiome testing as a way to be a tool that you can use to track your symptoms, change your diet, and then quickly iterate based on the results. And so this really has a global impact. If we're considering all the people that are affected by digestive disorders, we can help around 70 million people in the world. And if we consider the market, we kind of fit into 4 market segments for a total $45 billion market. Now, going back to the technology, it's based on the qPCR, which is usually used to verify the results. And this is instead of doing the sequencing reads, we do the quantification of the results. And then because we have a partnership with Thermo Fisher, we can do the sample runs quite quickly. And so we also very much focus on precision. Something that's coming out now in microbiome science is the daily variability. So if you tested today and maybe in 3 days, your level for something like Bifidobacterium longum would change. And right now, a lot of the testing services, they just use one sampling tool to account for that. But we want to introduce a new sampling card where we'll take 3 different samples and quantify that and have it as one time point. So then we'll highly improve the accuracy. And so this is one of the things that makes us unique, but I'd also say it's because we have this program testing and this single testing. Most companies usually have this sort of one-time test. Because of the programs, we can offer a personalized approach, and then we can delve further into the nutritional guidance and dietary interventions. With that, because of the new technology, we can be more rapid and precise, because that's one thing that people are really looking for, quick results and feedback so that they can iterate. And of course, we go down to strain and species specificity. So we have a strong, dedicated team. I've worked at Copenhagen University, and through that background, I really saw the importance of microbiome science, and we want that to be something that everyone can have access to. And I want to go back to actually if you're considering the genome revolution and genetics. So what we have seen is actually a bit of an issue in that when you're thinking about our DNA, which is what's kind of been popularized with 23andMe, etc., is that you can't really change it significantly unless you're doing epigenetics over years and years. And also, the fact is that up to 99% of our genes are shared. So that means there's less room for improvement. Meanwhile, with our microbes, it's around 10%. So there's a lot of factors that we can also use to improve our composition, given that research has shown it can take a couple of days to change the composition of our microbes. And that's why when we think back, Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. And this is really what we believe. So if we're looking at when you're feeling poorly, looking to your gut, it's one of the key ways that you can then find what's wrong and actually improve it so that you feel your best. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia.
Okay.
I have a good gut feeling about this. How about the judges?
Yeah.
Levi, please.
Yes. So some of the other players in this sector are focusing on diabetes. You've gone after IBS, so I'm curious about that. And secondly, what is the role of the healthcare provider in this process? I didn't quite get that from the presentation.
So you mean from the medical perspective in the...
Right. If you tell the average consumer that you have this strain in your gut, they won't really process that in a way that's, let's say, meaningful.
Yeah. Okay, so for the first point, it was... Can you repeat, actually?
I didn't see diabetes among the four areas of focus.
Yeah, we started with general wellness, but then actually talking to people, there's a lot of people that are suffering with IBS. Most also don't know they have it, but there's no actually... When they were going to the doctor, there was no solution, and that's why we saw, because there has been research showing the differences, that this was an underserved group of people and that we could really support them. And from the healthcare perspective, we've really found that a lot of them, they're a bit tired of that route, and they want to take power into their own hands, and that's why we see it more as a direct-to-consumer. But of course, where we want to go is have more guidance and consultations, like calls and that, guiding people. And of course, later on, maybe there'll be... I can see this going also the medical route later, but I think right now people just want to have that information for themselves and take ownership, because they are actually... It's a management tool for their lifestyle. They're told to just find a diet that works for you. So, yeah.
Alistair, please.
Thanks very much. I'm not familiar with this sector, but it struck me, how tailored can your nutritional health and lifestyle recommendations be, in the sense that we all have a good idea, and if you're an IBS sufferer anyway, there's going to be a standard set of medical prescriptions and advice. So what would be the kind of value added in terms of treatment that you'd bring?
It's specifically because we can see, a lot of people take, for instance, probiotics. And then we've had tests where people take it, but they don't have any bifida or something like that, even though they're taking the supplements. So we can see what's actually going on in that perspective. And we sort of highlight the microbes and then suggest how they can improve those. Because, for instance, with IBS, there's a lot that are told to do FODMAP or avoid this and this, but it ends up being super restrictive. And in that way, we're kind of focusing more on the microbes and how to tailor that.
One more question, please.
What's the cost per use for the individual consumer?
Per use? So I know in Danish krone, but I can roughly... The reset's 2,500 krone, so around 300 pounds. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation.